Story: The Shadow of the Cross. In a small town, hidden from the bustle of big cities, lived a humble carpenter named Joseph. He was a kind and hard-working man, known for his skills. He usually worked in his workshop, making furniture for the locals. His life was full of simple joys, but with each passing day he felt more and more that something important was happening in the world outside his small town. One day, Joseph received a message: a traveling preacher had arrived in his town. They said that his teaching was filled with hope and love. Joseph decided to go to the meeting, full of curiosity. As he approached the crowd gathered around the preacher, he suddenly felt an atmosphere filled with anticipation. People were whispering to each other, their eyes shining with excitement. The preacher, whose name was Jesus, spoke of love for one's neighbor, forgiveness and salvation. His words touched Joseph deeply, and he felt that his life had found new meaning. With each passing day, Joseph became more and more immersed in the teachings of Jesus. He became one of his disciples, ready to follow him despite all the difficulties. But soon the joy and hopes were overshadowed. Some religious leaders began to persecute Jesus, not accepting his teachings and calls to love. One day, when Jesus was captured and condemned, Joseph could not believe what was happening. His heart was filled with grief when he saw the Master being led to crucifixion. He felt helpless, but deep down he knew that he had to do something to help. When Jesus was led to the place of execution, the crowd that had gathered was filled with different emotions, from rage to bitterness. Joseph made his way through the crowd, trying to get to his Master. He saw Jesus being crucified, and this sight tore his heart apart. With each nail driven into Jesus' hands, Joseph felt his soul bleed. He remembered all those lessons about love and forgiveness and understood that even in this darkest moment, Jesus had fulfilled his mission. Love requires sacrifice. After the crucifixion, Joseph stood in the shadow of the cross, calling himself the last disciple who could not save his Master. He did not know how to live on, knowing that it was his disciples and followers who were to continue Jesus' work. He prayed for forgiveness, for his life to gain meaning in the shadow of this cross. Suddenly, he heard a voice from the crowd. It was a woman who was suffering from her loss. She called to Jesus, asking why this had happened, and why kindness and love were punished. Joseph approached her and, remembering the eternal words of his Master, said, "There is no fear in love, and even in suffering we can find strength to go on. We must continue his work, even when he is not with us." From then on, Joseph became a shepherd for the lost and hurting, spreading the teachings of Jesus. He taught people to forgive and love despite their fears and doubts. With every story and every good deed, he felt that Jesus was still there, inspiring and guiding him. The story of Jesus, his crucifixion and sacrifice became a light that could illuminate even the darkest corners of the hearts of earthlings. Joseph continued to live with the lessons he had learned, remembering that even in his grief, he could bring hope to those around him.